Hello, everybody. This is Moshe, the Electric Israeli, and today's video is about my pre-trip to Israel next week. Um, Here are some of the topics and the sites I want to talk about. I may see some of them, I may not, but I'm going to take lots of videos and share them with you, my fans. So we are in front of Google Maps, so let's give them credit. And first of all, as you see, Israel is in the Middle East, and it is really the bridge between Africa, Asia, and Europe. It's in the center of the three continents. Um, if we zoom in, we see that Israel is a very small country. There are around, if I call it, if you look at this area without the politics, this area of Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, there are around 10 million people. 10 million people sharing the same sources of energy and water that existed for many, many, many centuries. So obviously, innovation and technology are very important. So first of all, let's talk about electricity. Where does Israel get its how does Israel make electricity? So Israel has two main power plants, um, one in Ashkelon and one in the north called Hadera. And as of now, they use a mixture of coal and natural gas. Obviously, the idea is to get rid of the coal and to move completely to natural gas. And those of you know that Israel was not blessed with natural resources. However, however, in the past few years, off the coast of the Mediterranean, in this area, there were three huge discoveries of natural gas, and Israel, from a desert land of no oil, it became to is going to become to be a huge supplier and consumer of natural gas that was discovered in the Mediterranean Sea. So not only that, Israel is going to switch from coal to natural gas, but it's also going to it's going to actually export natural gas to Europe through Turkey or Greece through a pipeline between Turkey and Greece. One or both, I'm not sure. So that's one way of creating electricity, which is obviously natural gas is a little bit better. It's better than coal, but it still is a fossil fuel. There's a little industry in south of Israel of some solar farms that produce electricity, but it's very tiny, and it should be much more. It has to do with a lot. It has to do with politics, like everything else. But there should be much more solar farms in Israel. The innovation is there. The ideas are there. How to do it, we know. But the question is there a political will to do it? But that's a different topic for a different time. So that's energy. Now I have to tell you that home heating water for shower and just hot water, almost every rooftop in Israel has a boiler and solar panels that heat water. That I remember since I was a kid growing up in Israel since the 70s. So that's is very developed all around Israel to heat water with using solar. And in Israel, it's a very hot country, and you get sun most of the year. Now, water is tricky, especially when you have millions of people living on the same source of water. So obviously, in Israel, we have two lakes. This is called the Sea of Galilee, and this is the Dead Sea. They are tiny lakes, but we call them a sea for whatever reason. We also have the Mediterranean Sea, obviously, but so basically, for generations, the Sea of Galilee, or called Kinneret, was and still, for a certain extent, is a main source of water supply. So it gets its water from the mountains here called Mount Hermon. The mountain, this mountain is it's between Israel, Jordan, and Syria. Those mountains get a lot of snow in the winter, and then they go down to this basin. It's called the Hula Valley, which used to be a lot of swamps that got drained in the 50s foolishly. Now they're being, if you see here, they're being a little bit flooded again. This is the first part of the Jordan River. Then it spills into this basin to the Sea of Galilee. And then from there, it's supposed to go all the way down to the Dead Sea. But because there's so much stress and water between all these populations here, look what happened to the Dead Sea. It became like two lakes. Now, when I grew up in the 70s in Israel, the Dead Sea used to be this big, huge. It was one big lake. 150 years ago, it was even bigger. It was much bigger than it is now. By the way, this part of the Dead Sea, it's really man-made in this area called En Bokek. It's part of the Dead Sea mineral industry, and these are man-made lakes that you can still go and float and find mud, but find like a healthy mud. But that's not part of the Dead Sea. This is totally man-made. This is what's left of the Dead Sea, and it will disappear if the current stress on minerals and on water flowing from the Jordan River and the mountains of Jerusalem that's supposed to spill into the Dead Sea will continue. The Dead Sea is a UNESCO or United Nations not monument but important geographic area in the world. Now there are few plans to try to build a canal from northern Israel into the Dead Sea to use the elevation. As you know, the Dead Sea is the lowest point on earth. To use the elevation to create hydroelectric power, but also to refill the Dead Sea. And now the United Nations is talking about to create a canal from the Red Sea, which is in South Israel. The Red Sea, as you see, forks between Egypt and Jordan and Israel. But the Red Sea, it's really this area, which is part of what we call the Great Rift Valley, that starts in northern Israel and go all the way down to southeast Africa. So this Great Rift Valley it's what the Red Sea is part of, this great split. But there's a plan to build a canal from here, which is also another good idea because it will really disrupt the natural resources around there and all the ecosystem that's around there. Anytime, by the way, anytime you combine two bodies of water, it's never a good idea. Here's an example. Here's the Suez Canal that connects the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. You see this lake? This is a man-made lake. It's called the Bitter Lake, the Great Bitter Lake, and it is never a good idea because could it creates a lot of ecosystem issues. Having said that, Israel is really a regional power in water. How? Because Israel developed this great um, system of sea water desalination. Here is how a water desalination plant looks like. This is the one in Hadera. Here's an inside of a water desalination factory. There are 4 or 5, I think, in action in Israel right now, and there are 2 more going to come online, which is eventually going to create to satisfy all the needs of all the inhabitants of Israel and also Jordan and other areas. It is built along the coastline, one in Ashkelon, Ashdod, Hadera. It's going to be one. Uh, there are going to be more, and it's really an interesting concept of creating seawater into drinking water. So this gave a great relief to the Sea of Galilee, and maybe hopefully it will allow to Jordan River to get refilled and spill back to the Dead Sea, which is the natural course, and that will be the best solution instead of building canals from oceans to the Dead Sea, which unfortunately is disappearing. So that's one way Israel became a superpower of water. But the other way to do it in Israel, 98% of all waters get recycled. No water goes to spill. So every time you flush the toilet or you use the water in the kitchen, it goes to a water treatment and it gets reused for drinking water and or for agriculture. So that is really water is something that Israel has perfected. There's also a lot of agriculture techniques if you know about the dripping pipes, so there's pipes that have little holes and they all computerized and They give just enough amount of water for each plant. It's a great way to conserve water. So solar is really in diaper stage. Natural gas is coming online. Water is in advanced stage. Electric cars, unfortunately, there was a great attempt with the Better Place, a car using the Renault cars. It really was a battery swap, but it fell apart because the car was too expensive, and the electricity for the battery swap was also too expensive. So it was bad planning, and just didn't work out. So I'm planning to be in mostly in northern Israel at the beginning on my trip, and then I'm going to go to the south, to the Dead Sea. So I'm going to take some videos from the Dead Sea, show you how it looks like. One of the lastly, before I finish, lastly, because the Dead Sea has receded so much, it used to be part of here. This road did not exist 100 years ago. It was all covered with water. And what happened is a lot of sinkholes, huge sinkholes, hundreds and hundreds of sinkholes. So some areas of the Dead Sea are like you can't even go there because it's dangerous. You can be swollen by the earth because the water got receded so much. So I'm going to take lots of pictures and videos and share it with you after I come back. So this is it about my pre-trip to Israel. So please subscribe to my channel, and let's change the world one electric car at a time. Thank you.